Hi, and welcome to another episode of Recover Loud. I'm Mike Paddleford, and I recover loud. Tonight's episode, we're going to be speaking with Tommy Hayes from Rumford. Tommy is a registered peer recovery coach and trainer and distributor of Naloxone. Let's watch as Tommy recovers loud.
Doesn't matter where you come from, it's alright. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter where you come from, it's alright. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter where you come from, it's alright. I came up from the bottom of a bottle with rebels and desperados. It was long days and hard nights, but I had to struggle for my dream, cause nobody else could see it. I was no one to turn to somebody with just a little faith. There's nothing I can achieve. Yeah, I was going the wrong way and then I turned right. But if I could be anybody, I wanna be me. Cause it don't matter where you're from, only matter where you going. Nobody giving me none, I'm placing a bet on myself and I'm all in. I got the mind of a broke man, mixed with the heart of a lion. I'ma keep giving my all cause that's just who I am. Yeah, I'm a different breed, sprouted from a gifted seed, turned into a problem child, that was just my destiny. Now but if I could be anybody, I wanna be me. Yeah, I just wanna be.
Hi, I'm Tommy Hayes, and I recover loud.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Recover Loud. I'm sitting here today with Tommy Hayes from Rumford, Maine. Welcome, Tommy. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for allowing me to come here and share my story today.
Absolutely. So Tommy, you're somebody that identifies as a recovery ally. And to me, it's pretty amazing that you don't feel like you've had these struggles that many of us in substance use disorder dealt with, but you're out there trying to help us. So can you tell me a little bit about your background? What made you decide to jump in as a recovery coach and try to help this community?
Well, first it started off with Kathy, the director of Larry Labonte Recovery Center. She's known me my entire life, and she gave me the opportunity just to become a staff member of LLRC. And then once she presented the opportunity of becoming a recovery coach, I had a feeling that I would probably be a good fit for this, whereas I have a lot of family members who are dealing with substance use disorder on a daily basis, even right now, or even in their past life where they're in recovery now. Mm-hmm. But it's something, once I took the class and went through the 5-day training course through CCAR and through Portland Recovery Center, it was definitely a good fit. I could see myself, moving forward with this and helping out our community of the River Valley area.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, Western Maine, just like any part of Maine, has its struggles. And, I see Western Maine come up in the news all the time. And what we don't see is, a lot of recovery over that way. I actually took a ride out to the Larry Labonte Center the other day, and I was actually surprised at the support that it seemed the community had. The Larry Labonte Center is there to support people. A staff of, how many people work there right now?
I think right now we have a staff of 5 people.
5 people.
Yes.
And you mentioned Kathy. Kathy started that, correct?
Kathy and Lonnie started the Recovery Center after seeing quite a few of Lonnie's friends struggle over his lifetime and just overwhelming how much our area of River Valley needs it. So they had first, just having the idea of, Lonnie has a business right now, and we use part of that building as their recovery center.
Okay.
So we have a location, but they just didn't know where to start from there. They had the idea. We had a big fundraiser, and we had a lot of people come out for that first thing, so that way we could get construction underway. Yeah,
and it's great just for somebody to have that idea and to see it through. It's not easy to start a recovery center, and for people to have the heart and willingness to help, just like you. joining the team, doing the work that it takes to become a registered or a certified recovery coach. It's not easy, but you decided to do it. You don't struggle with substance use disorder, but you do struggle with a disease of your own. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I have a muscular and nerve disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth Disease. It's kind of like the shark animal, and they just put an O on the end. But it deals with my muscles and nerves. It's progressive and it's hereditary, so right now there isn't a cure for it, but just like anything else, there's tons of research being done. There is improvements here and there with medicine, but nothing too much of a case yet that I could be eligible for. So it's just dealing with the daily struggles of limited mobility from my flexibility and just the lack of muscle.
Yeah. And it is a hereditary disease?
Yes.
So you've had it from day one?
Yes. I started showing symptoms probably about middle school, but even before then, elementary school, I would fail gym because I couldn't run or keep up with the other kids.
Okay, so you knew something was going on. You just
Correct.
didn't exactly know what
My
it
grandmother has it significantly, and so did my great-grandmother, as well as there's some other family members that have it as well. At the time, I was probably the youngest out of our family to show symptoms of it.
So that must have been tough for you to go from, what you considered, your normal childhood, to finding out you had this debilitating disease. How did you handle that? Did it affect you in your daily life, your mental stability?
It definitely is something that I've had to struggle with a majority of my life, just because of, until I got a diagnosis, we always knew there was something wrong, but could never say like, oh, well, this is why I couldn't keep up with everybody else. Or, for example, gym class, we would go skiing and I would only be able to do a quarter of what the entire class would be able to do in what a class period would be. So that was always a struggle with me, with doing the physical activities needed for schooling and everything like that. And whereas I didn't have a diagnosis, I really wasn't exempt for anything like that. So I was still really pushed to do everything, even though I didn't have the ability to do it.
Gotcha. So throughout your struggles with that, you were telling me about a community of people, advocates, trying to do things for Charcot-Marie-Tooth. Can you tell us what's going on and how you're trying to be involved?
Yes. It's just in the beginning stages right now, but an organization called Charcot-Marie-Tooth Charcot-Marie-Tooth Association has started a group of streamers on Twitch and maybe a couple other streaming platforms to kind of raise awareness of Charcot-Marie-Tooth and other things that we deal with on a daily life. Just for an example, one thing I've struggled with just growing up, you see everybody else just opening a regular soda bottle like it's nothing, but with me, I have very limited mobility of my hands, so I have a soda bottle and I use my thumb on my chin and I add that extra pressure so that way I can open it. So that was a big thing growing up, was adapting to making things work for me.
Yeah. So your hands, that started in the middle school, or were your hands always?
My hands have always been a little difficult to deal with. Now that I'm getting older, it's definitely progressing more. What's happening is my fingers are starting to curl, so my fingertips are coming in towards my palms.
Gotcha. I mean, and that's hard to accept a lot of times, and what I notice from you, Tommy, is your positive attitude and your smile all the time. I've met you in 12-step meetings online, and I've seen you out at the Larry Labonte Center. How do you keep your smile?
That's something I always wondered myself, because it is a struggle to deal with everything. I think partly because I've seen other families deal with it, other family members deal with it, and pushing past the struggle is something that, all of us have to deal with no matter what our issue is. But getting past the struggle, whether it be is like on a daily basis, I have to put on and take off my leg braces. And that is quite a bit of a struggle pain-wise for me, and it's getting to the point where I almost can't do that. Dealing with it when it comes up and knowing that for myself, the pain at this point is only for a minute or two while I'm doing the activity. It is a daily struggle every day, but it's something that I feel as though I'm gonna have to deal with it for the rest of my life. So I'm just gonna have to keep pushing and just keep doing what I'm doing to maintain what I do now.
Nothing lasts forever. That pain isn't going to last forever.
Right.
You can alter the way you do things. You can come up with a better way of doing it for yourself to not inflict pain. You can find other ways to open a soda bottle, so you don't have to give up the activities. You just have to get through it.
Right.
And, in recovery, I mean, we're all dealing with that, and that's a great lesson. We are all going to struggle with something. We all have to find a way to cope with it. And in my previous life, I chose substances to avoid it. But now in recovery, I have to find ways to cope, to get through, and I know it's not going to last forever. So I'm glad you've learned that in that aspect of your life. So tell us a little bit about your work at Larry Labonte. What is it that you do at the center? What are you doing?
So when I'm staffing the center on my days to work, we meet anybody who comes through the door, whatever part of recovery they're in, whether they're only thinking about recovery, they're not sure if even what they're doing on a day-to-day is even harming their life, or then somebody who says, I want to get into treatment right now. And then we have a good-sized binder that we've gone through, and we have a lot of resources throughout the state that we can try to narrow down with talking with them what would be more appropriate of a place to refer them to than just any recovery program or something like that. We're definitely not pushing anything over another type of recovery. It's whatever they feel as though they want to travel down for a path of recovery, but it's meeting them where they are when they come through their door of, like I said, either starting recovery, maintaining, just looking for meetings in our area because they're new to our area, or whatever the case may be, meeting them at that point at the door when they first come in.
So as recovery coaches, we support all pathways of recovery because we never know what it's going to take for somebody to get that. Some people try many different paths before they figure out what works for them. So for us to try to push something onto somebody, that might not be what they need, and it might not be what they want. We try to support whatever decisions that they come up with. My definition of recovery encompasses the entire spectrum of the process of change. And as you mentioned, the pre-contemplation is step one. So when we decide that I'm sick and tired of doing the same thing every day, struggling every day with this, that's part of it. Before we even put the substances down, our recovery can start. Harm reduction is a big part of somebody's journey, or can be a big part of somebody's journey. And harm reduction encompasses everything from using Naloxone to a syringe service program, and even in our normal lives, wearing a seatbelt is harm reduction. In harm reduction, abstinence may be a goal of their recovery journey, but in that stage, it might not be. And that's not for us to tell them.
Right.
You need to do this so that you get sober. You need to do this so you live today.
Exactly. Quite frequently, what I hear from folks in our community is that it's a choice of what they're doing. And a big thing that I've seen is with somebody who's in that pre-contemplation state is, who am I when I'm not using or in active addiction? So for some people, it's, once it seems so scary to even take that first step of even asking for help, because they feel as though this is something I need every day. Who am I without that?
Right.
So
Right.
making a big life choice like that is something, when somebody walks into our center, we want to ease them into that, get them into some either just programs to start out or whatever the case may be, meet them at that point.
Yeah, and you became the Naloxone coordinator at the center.
Yes.
So you train and distribute Naloxone. Um, and you're actually going out into the community to distribute. You're not just waiting for people to come get it. Can you tell us about some of the outreach programs that you're involved in?
So right now we're doing, on Thursdays, we head out to Norway in front of Common Ground Counseling, as long as the weather permitted. If it's a downpour, unfortunately, we're not going to head out that way. It is quite a drive for us, and we're definitely not going to get people showing up to our table who would need to be coming to our table. But on the days that, as long as it permitted, we're out there from 11 to 2:30 in Norway. And that's anybody who'd like to come up to our table. We can train them of how to use Narcan, what's happening during an overdose, and what are the steps that should be taken in case you are there when that happens.
Yeah. Tommy, you had told me about a program that you guys are involved in with the Larry Labonte Center. Were you going into the schools to speak to kids? Can you talk about that?
Yes. Right now we're in a middle school helping out some students. Some students have our support just as they have things happening in their life at home that they may need to talk about, but then also as almost like a consequence from the school. Not necessarily like they're getting in trouble with us or anything, but we're just there to more or less provide information about if, for example, they had brought a vape of some kind to school. We could meet with them for a couple of weeks, once a week, just to kind of talk about vaping and any questions they may have about other things of substance use disorder or things that go along those lines that we might be able to help them out with.
So I think it's important that you're going to the schools. In my opinion, a lot of the trauma that we experience that leads to using happens during those developmental years. So I appreciate you going to the schools and doing that. I think that's a great program. And having someone like you to go talk to the kids, I think is very, very, very important and effective.
Yes, I know for myself, I felt as though going into these schools might be another step for most kids have DARE program now. But I know for myself, when I was at that age of even before going into DARE, when we got a letter at home saying, this is what DARE is and this is what it's covering, I was told by quite a few family members, this is what we don't talk about outside the house. So no matter what is said at DARE, this is what we do and that's okay. So going in as almost at this middle school age is something along the lines of, we were in that same situation that you were, and we're not saying that we made all the right decisions, but we're just here to pass along some information that we wish we had when we were in middle school or around that age.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just want to thank you for that work. I think, it's important, and if we could have someone in the schools all over the state, all over the country, I think it would be great. So, maybe something you're doing today is going to help another program down the road. I was in Westbrook High School a couple weeks ago, got to talk to the junior and senior class, and I was surprised at how involved the students were and how focused on what we had to say that they were, because when I was in school, I didn't want to hear anybody telling me about drugs being bad, but it was a different message back then, this is your brain on drugs. None of that stuff made sense to us, and it was a joke.
It seemed like a lot of scare tactics.
Yeah, and so now today, there's one girl that was in the school with me, and she talked about how we know you're going to use, and if you're going to use, know how to save your friends' lives, because that's what it's come to nowadays. If
So
you're
true.
going to use, then you should know how to save somebody's life. And I'm actually looking forward to the end of the show. You're gonna do a quick training with T.
Yes.
And so stick around to the end of the show to get a quick training on how to administer naloxone. Tommy, is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers? Any other message you'd like to put out there?
For anybody in recovery or seeking recovery, please reach out. There's plenty of recovery centers throughout the state. I believe there's 17 right now. So please reach out. There's people here that will help and guide you to recovery.
Yeah, and our recovery community is constantly growing. We always talk about the overdose numbers and the rates of death and all that horror, but our recovery community is growing. People are starting to figure out that there is a life after using substances, and people like you and other recovery coaches out there helping guide people. That's where the work is, and that's great. I appreciate everything you're doing over there.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having this show.
Yeah.
It's a great spotlight on the recovery community.
Yeah, and that's really the goal, to show that we are recovering. It is possible. We can live a life without using. I know when I was using, I didn't believe I could. I had accepted the fact that my life was over at the age of 40, and that I was just waiting for death. Here 5 years later, I'm 3.5 years into recovery, and I'm loving life again. So
Tremendous to hear that.
yeah, and I never expected it. Over 40, life's over. But
Recovery is possible for everyone.
Absolutely, it's never too late. It's never too late. And again, through your struggles, you're out there trying to help the rest of us, and you're helping your own community, the Charcot-Marie-Tooth
Yes.
community, and I commend you for all the work you're putting in.
Hi guys, welcome to Tea Talk. I'm standing here with Tommy Hayes, and he's going to show me and all of you how to administer naloxone if ever needed. And it's important for everyone to know, not just people in recovery or in addiction, everyone, because chances are you're going to see someone, unfortunately, and you're going to need to know what to do. So he's going to show us. I had a recent event where, unfortunately, I wasn't properly shown how to do it in the past, and I kind of panicked. Luckily, the police was there, and I was embarrassed, and that will never happen again. So do not let yourself get in that situation. And I want to also say, pay attention, because you are going to panic when it happens, and you need to know what to do. So let's get started. All right?
Thank you, T.
Thank
So
you.
we're going to first start out with this here is how nasal Narcan comes. It comes in a box, and it has 2 kits, 2 doses. This here is the 2 doses. One big thing I get when I train people is naloxone and Narcan. They may be 2 different names, but they're the same exact thing.
Okay.
One is the actual medicine name, and then Narcan is the company name for it. So this with nasal here, the steps to be taken with this, we're going to first give the person Narcan, we're going to call 911, and then we're going to give them air.
Okay.
This will be called rescue breathing.
Okay.
First, what we're going to do is out of this package here, it's simply, we just peel this open, and when we do, we have this right here. This is 1 dose of naloxone. There are a couple other forms of this, but the nasal here is by far the easiest to use. All types of naloxone have the same effectiveness and roughly the same amount of time of when they're going to become effective. So if you have it, use it. Whether it be an expiration date or whatever the case may be, you can use it no matter what.
Okay. See, I thought there was a piece missing because, I didn't know that just was, so this is good.
Yes, with this here, the nasal, there's nothing to do. Once you take it out of this case right here, it's good to go and you can use it. The way we're going to use this is we're going to have our fingers and our thumb in place like this, and we're going to put this into the one nostril while we're plugging the other nostril. When we do this, we're going to push up on this red plunger, and it's going to aerosol.
Oh, wow.
once we have this aerosol, this will be absorbed into the mucous membrane of somebody's nose, and that's how it gets into somebody's system.
Okay.
What this does is when it gets into your system, the opioids in somebody's system is no longer effective. Your body does not see it in your system.
Okay.
So from this point on, if you're the only one at the scene, this is when you're going to call 911.
Okay.
If you have somebody else on the scene, they could be calling 911 at the same time,
Okay.
and then give you a location of a best area where to find you.
Okay. Now, if someone's not overdosing and you assume they are, and you give this to them, are they safe or?
As far as I've been trained, you can give naloxone even if you're not sure about if they have opioids in their system, and you can give multiple doses of naloxone as well.
Okay.
So if they're not coming around with the first dose, I'll get into that in just a second, but you can give multiple doses. I myself have heard of a case of a person needing 12 doses, so that's 6 kits of Narcan from people at the scene as well as the ambulance attendants on the way to the hospital.
Right. Okay.
So once we have given the Narcan and we've called 911, this is when we're going to do rescue breathing. So this isn't CPR. We're not doing chest compressions on somebody, but we are providing oxygen to them.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is tip the head back and making sure that the airway is clear, plugging their nose, and then providing air from mouth to mouth. You do want to go full mouth-to-mouth contact. During COVID times right now, if they have a CPR shield, which is something as a plastic barrier between you and the other person that allows airflow.
Okay.
But you can also use a t-shirt, some other type of fabric in the case of, so you don't have to be exactly physical contact to contact during this time.
Okay. Yeah, that's good advice. But yeah, I don't know if I would think to do that in that situation, but
It
I
can
know
be
people will, think about that. So that's good to know.
It can be quite hectic in the situation,
Yes.
Once we have given Narcan to somebody and the paramedics have arrived, everybody does have the right to refuse treatment from an ambulance of being shipped to a hospital. But at that time, we generally ask somebody to stay with that person for at least an hour and a half. After, then this Narcan here and any type of Narcan medicine wears off after about 45 minutes. So if the person has, depending on the amount of opioids in somebody's system, there is the possibility of a second overdose once this medicine wears off. So that's why we ask you to stay with them for at least an hour and a half. If you have more Narcan after the fact, you can use that again, call an ambulance again, they will come back and they will give that person Narcan.
Okay.
A big thing about Narcan is we want to give a person another chance at recovery. It doesn't matter what they do with that other chance, but as long as we keep giving them that chance to recovery.
I'm glad you said that because this week I have talked to a couple of people about what I'm doing and what I'm learning, and they were shockingly negative about this and complained about the amount of money that this costs, and someone doesn't deserve to have multiple doses and multiple chances. And I was honestly very mad, and I really didn't even know how to respond. I just walked away. Like, what do you say to something like that, Like, so obviously that person has never been through something like this, and I hope they never do.
Yes, but definitely.
I appreciate this. Like, this was good for everybody, including me.
Thank you for allowing me to do this training with you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you sharing your story. I'm a fan of sharks, not your kind of Charcot, but I could relate to the, not relate, but like, I was like, wow, I want to learn more about this because it's new to me also.
Oh, thank you.
It's interesting, but this is the weekend of the Walk for Carrie. Tomorrow, May 22nd at 2:30 on the Eastern Prom at the gazebo. It is going to be a celebration of life, food, speakers, bright colors and flowers and rainbows. I'm going to wear my cape. Super, yay. No, just kidding. But anyway, no, seriously, I got a K shirt right here for Carrie. We're going to do the walk down to the beach, and at the end, we're going to light off a rocket and send her out with a bang, because we know she would love that. And I hope to see all of you there, and thank you for joining this everybody should know how to do this, and you will need to save a life at one time or another, so be prepared. And yeah, thank you, and I hope to see everyone tomorrow at the walk. And remember, recover loud.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Recover Loud. You can watch us Saturday nights at 8 o'clock on YouTube and Thursday nights at 7:30 on PMC Channel 5 in the greater Portland area. Recover loud, everyone.
Like snort, like snort, like snort.
So every time I call, you pick up the phone and always reminding me that I'm not alone. And even when I'm scared and my feet are frozen, you help me keep it going like a semicolon. Even if I'm lost, he helping me light the way. And even in the dark, he always keeping me safe. And everything I've lost don't compare to what I've gained. So no matter what it costs, yeah, I'll be willing to pay. Cause every time I call, you pick up the phone and always reminding me that I'm not alone. And even when I'm scared and my feet are frozen, you help me keep it going like a semicolon. So I'ma follow your steps for all of the way. I put my faith in you and walk on the waves. And if I stumble a bit and fall on my face, you come and save me with all of your grace. Yeah, thank God.